sometimes good things fall apart so that better things can come together. And I love this. I have seen this in real life, in real time, so many times in terms of my own life and those of clients. And I always think I'm in a really privileged position because I get to have this stuff confirmed over and over again, because I see it unfold in the lives of so many other people that I'm working with, and I can see how we get to these sticking points and you face this massive gulf of uncertainty and you just get stuck there, and the fear starts to come in, and you've got to try and explore and find your way and find your next step and figure out how to cope with yourself when you're feeling fearful, letting everything else come through. And I think this always brings me back to this place of feel it out. I think emotions are incredibly underrated. Like, they're either something that we like or they're just completely inconvenient. So I think our society is very fixed on find your peace, find your stillness, find your calm, find your happiness, find your joy, find all these things. And it doesn't make us feel as though feeling anything else has any point or is productive in any way. But imagine this. Imagine that our emotions are actually our intel, our navigation system, something that can truly guide us on a path in an instinctive way that is beyond anything that we could know with our minds and analyze with our brains. So, for example, we've made associations between sensations and emotions that we know they mean things. Like, we know what tired feels like, how we can be irritable and we can feel down and we can physically feel what it's like to be tired. And we know that this set of feelings, this set of sensations, the emotions that can come with it, we know that they mean you need to go and have some sleep. So we have this kind of do this because you feel that and then you will feel better. It's the same with hunger. If you are hungry, think of all the things that you get eventually, that if you didn't know that being hungry meant you needed to eat, it would get worse and worse, and it would get stronger, and you get more stomach pain, you'd feel more lightheaded. Eventually, you'd be hallucinating, you'd be desperate. And the answer is there all along. Your body's saying, here is the combination of sensations and emotions, and these mean that you need to go and eat. That's all you need to do. And then you're going to find yourself coming back into balance, because that's where we are. We're in a sort of state of balance whereby we come in and out of alignment all the time as we grow and we take more things on board, and we're exposed to our different sensations and surroundings and experiences and people and hopes and dreams and all the stuff. But what about if anxiety and depression and agitation and feeling fearful and all that stuff isn't wrong and isn't taking us away from where we're supposed to be going? Maybe actually this stuff is a really good way for our body to be trying to communicate some immense intelligence to us, which is why when people say they struggle with anxiety, they struggle with depression, they struggle with these things, I think, oh my God, you have no idea that you have this wide, incredible emotional spectrum that is within you, that you're capable of feeling everything from all the way up here to euphoric joy and bliss and wow and wonder at the tiniest things, and you're able to go all the way down as far as despair and hopelessness and everything that goes with that. And instead of feeling like sometimes these things happen to us and we get stuck in them and we can't do anything, they're wrong, we need to get past them, we're too much, we're too sensitive, all these things we get told. Maybe we're not. Maybe these feelings are the way that we are guided. So you can feel depressed because you're not in alignment with your real truth, with what some deeper core higher part of you knows is your truth, is what you want to be doing, is what's right for you to be doing. Or it might be even just much more simple, that you've been doing too much, maybe because you're driven by something that tells you you need to keep going, you need to be more productive, you need to do more in order to feel worthy, in order to feel enough, and you've got yourself burnt out, and now you're going to get so despondent that you're not going to be able to keep doing more. So your body's just saying, look, I'm just going to stop you there, hun. I'm going to stop you there because you need to rest, and not just rest, but give yourself permission to rest and allow yourself to indulge in the rest and really soak it up. And I think that's why sometimes we get stuck in things like depression for so long, because it's not tallying up. We're not really allowing ourselves to look within. We're not always really allowing ourselves to lean into that truth of, I can't do anything at the moment. I need to fill my pot up rather than to be giving out of that pot. So that makes us confront all sorts of things that we might find difficult, like trying to receive, trying to ask others for help. I mean, it's such a rabbit hole, isn't it? You could just keep going down. What I find is that my feelings, as things have gone on and I've faced more and more challenges in life as things have unfolded, it's always been tuning into that feeling place that takes me to that next level. And when I feel fearful, I always know that this is like the ego going, oh, I don't know, do we really want to change? Or it's basically a prelude to, you're going the right way, something important is happening, something that will benefit you is happening. If you're up for looking at it, changing it, playing with it. If you're not, you can stay as you are. But if you're not careful, some part of you that wants to go over there and see what else is there, what else there is to experience, will be bigger than the part of you that wants to stay in this place and continue the same patterns. And then whether you like it or not, you actually can't go back to the old ways, because the old ways are falling away behind you. And there's definitely a time whereby you can feel this fear that things are crumbling away and tune into this sense of, am I supposed to face something here that means I work on the current state and the current circumstance, the current relationship, the current work, whatever it is? Is this about something that I need to overcome within myself? What is the fear telling me? Or actually, is this that it's time to move away from that thing? And that's what's always been the go-to for me. When I've been in a situation where it's like make or break, it's falling away, it's falling apart, whether it's a relationship or a situation or a health situation or work or whatever it is, it will feel like it's come to a head or a climatic point. It's like reached that crescendo. It's now or never, basically. Something's going to happen. I end up, I've got to go into how this feels. Is this a situation where I stay and there's something to learn and something to work through? And if that's the case, the idea of doing that feels comforting. It feels like it creates a bit of a path, like, yes, that seems to be moving into something else. I could see that going somewhere. Whereas if it doesn't, almost like it just feels like a void, like there's nothing there. I can't get inspired about it. I can't get excited about it. Every time I try and take a step in that direction, there's just nothing there. And it's like it's a dead end. And this is how I've always figured things out in the past and trusted it. That it's not that I'm not willing to put that work in. It's not that I'm afraid of hard work or anything like that. Just my feeling on it always seems to guide me. Yes, there's something there. No, this is done. You need to grieve it and you need to be ready for whatever's next, because some part of you has put out the call to say, I'm ready for the next thing. I'm ready for the next version, the next level, the next experience, the next thing. And you have to trust that if you've put out that call, something's coming back to meet you, something's coming in to find you. And that when you've done it enough times, although it's still scary, I think it gets gentler and you get better at being able to recognize the fear. No, this is me being human. This is normal. Now, I've got to be an observer of this fear, and I've got to see what intel the fear has for me. Is the fear trying to tell me that there's something about this situation that I need to know or change or work through? Is this fear trying to tell me there's something beyond it and you know it, but you're scared? Can you trust that you can definitely get there? Which it's always possible to get there. And sometimes the fear forces you to sit and really look at what aspects of myself would it be great to shift and change or develop in order for me to believe that something new could be possible, that I could reach a new version of events or circumstances, or a new existence, a new way of being, a new way of living. And this is definitely what's been happening with my business, is that in the past, having worked with this particular business for 16 years, there's always been times where it's been ready for the next level and the next thing, and something would dip, something would be tricky, and I'd have to dig deep, and I'd have fear about, oh gosh, have I got enough clients, or is this model really working? And it would encourage you to develop yourself. You go on a course, you figure some business skills, you apply a new measure, you change something about yourself so that you do things differently. You're constantly growing with it. And what the feeling has always been, yes, I would like to do that, because I can see that I could get to this next place with it, and off we go. And it always has this momentum and this drive, and it always feels like there's something behind it moving me, so I don't have to drag myself. Recently, in the last couple of years, it's felt like, no, everything I try and do is bringing me that dead end feeling, and the experiences that I'm having are there's 10% this is all lovely and this is everything I remember and everything I love about this work, and then 90% this is showing me all the bits that I didn't like about work, all the things that I knew were tricky, that I always had to sort of compensate for or just put up with or factor in some way. Those bits were getting bigger, and every strategy I tried that was coming from my thinking space was getting me pretty much nowhere. And the only thing that gave me this feeling of expansion, this feeling of relief, this feeling of, yes, that's the way, was when I said to myself, you know what, maybe it's time. Maybe you could put all of this down and close it and say that chapter is done. There's a new chapter opening. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but I need a minute whilst that isn't going on in order to get into a space where I can actually feel the feeling of where I'm being led to next. And the first set of feelings I got was, you are so tired, you have worked endlessly, tirelessly, lovingly on your family, on your home, on your business, on your clients, and you've loved every second of it. But if you just check in for a second, the petrol tank is empty, and it is time for you to create a completely new way of being and doing. And you can't do that unless you put everything down and then assess what you've got and start to put things back and start to let go of other things. So that's the process. And I think what I always hang on to is my feelings will always guide me, my instincts will always show me, and I can look back and think, yeah, I was right about that with that relationship, and I was right about that with that relationship, and I've been in through that with my marriage, and thought, no, there's something really sparkly, special underneath all this stuff that's hard, and I feel like we're both going to grow through this, and that sparkle's going to come with us, and then we're going to be at our next level, and we always have. And I think the same is true with anything in life, work, friendships, Oh, cat, this is my other cat. So guys, the feelings are the guides. The feelings are intel. So when I'm anxious, sometimes I know, this means I'm really overwhelmed, I've done too much, I've abused one of my golden rules this week, and I need to cancel some plans, and I need some time to myself. Or it might be that the anxiety is I'm scared of this expansion that I've kind of triggered in myself that I know is coming, And the idea of it coming together is feeling very inviting, and this anxiety is more like the jitters, and that's normal and that's fine. And when you get to know them and you look at them, you can really start to get to know them. You know how they say mothers always know what their baby's cry means, that the different tones of the cry, that only the mum can really hear it in an instant. They know. It's like that. We can get to be like that with our emotional guidance system, and I'm actually really grateful for mine, because if I actually listen to the intel and not the ego's idea of what that means, because the ego we need, of course we need, and I'm so grateful for it, but I know my ego hasn't got the emotional intelligence to translate that message for me, so it will grasp any old thing that looks like it might vaguely fit, like a computer trying to put two things together, whereas my intuition can translate it in a much deeper way and say, okay, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're doing, this is what you're not feeling brave enough to recognize, and if you were, then you'd be able to move to the next place of where you want to be. So that's today's ramble, with love.